date for several years now. And so that is why we call it SNAP. Oftentimes in the media, you'll see the comma, formerly known as food stamps. So SNAP is a program which is essentially given to people on an EBT card. It's benefits that they can use at a grocery store or at the farmer's market, and it helps them put food on the table. That's essentially what it is. And there are different incentives that are out there where people can get double up benefits when they use their SNAP cards at participating farmers markets. So that's really cool, different options that can be customized within the SNAP program. Now, one of those customizations for the state to do that the federal government has graciously given us is the option of expanding SNAP through something called, now this is 4 words. Make sure you take a sip of coffee because you could fall asleep by the end of this phrase because it's incredibly boring. It is broad-based categorical eligibility. And these 4 words don't really make any sense together. So what this does is I'm going to just explain what those 4 words do in a broken down way. But first, let's talk about the gates that are in SNAP, the tests that are in SNAP. There are there are 2 income tests and 1 resource test to see if you're eligible for SNAP currently. One is the gross income test. Second is the net income test. And third is the resource test. So you have to pass all 3 of these tests to receive SNAP benefits in Virginia right now. The gross income test is at 130% of the federal poverty line. So you have to have less than 130% of the federal poverty line before taxes, before deductions, to be able to qualify for SNAP benefits. And what does that mean? So currently the federal poverty line for a family of 3 is $21,960. So you have to be below 130% of that. And then once you pass that, you can get to the next test, which is the net income test. And then all your income after expenses and taxes and all those deductions has to be below 100% of the federal poverty line. So getting from 130 to 100, it's definitely doable. There's a lot of expenses that count that can help people get to 100% of the net income, 100% of the federal poverty line, and they just have to get below that. Then third is the resource test. And the resource test says that if you have like X number in savings or like in stocks or whatever, usually it's savings accounts, you have to have less than that minimum or less than that maximum to qualify for SNAP benefits. So it's a way of saying that you need to be able to use all the resources available to you to buy food. And if that means you're trying to save up to get out of poverty, well, sorry, you have to use that money to buy food instead. So in case I was showing my cards there, I am not a fan of the resource test, and neither are any of the anti-hunger advocates. And so what categorical eligibility does is it allows the state to change the gross income test and the resource test. Now, what the state can do is increase the gross income test from 130%, which is the minimum, all the way to 200% of the federal poverty line. And across the country, we have states that are anywhere in between there. In Virginia, we opted to go full force right to the 200% level. So starting July 1, the gross income test is going to increase to 200% of the federal poverty line. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody making double the federal poverty line is now going to receive SNAP benefits, because the net income test, which says that your expenses and deductions need to bring you back down to below 100% of the federal poverty line, that hasn't changed. That is something that can only change on the federal level. So it's still a step in the right direction, because with the removal of the resource test, which was test number 3, some states have increased their resource test, which is an option for states. Virginia completely removed it. So now instead of having 3 tests to get into SNAP, you only have 2 tests. So what this means is that it's going to be a lot easier for DSS or Department of Social Services workers to help people in their applications for SNAP benefits. It's going to be a lot more seamless for them. They're going to see a lot less errors in their applications because of this as well, and it'll be a lot quicker for them to process the applications as well. So it's got a lot of positives. And also, this will make newly eligible over 25,000 households in Virginia. So while the net income test is not increasing, the gross income test increase and the resource test removal does put us in the right direction in making a lot of people out there eligible for SNAP benefits. Now, some of the roll-off benefits of SNAP expansion include an increase in school meal participation, and namely free school meal participation. When a child is a part of a family or a household that is receiving SNAP benefits, then they are eligible for free school meals. And every month, the Department of Social Services sends its data to the Department of Education so that the Department of Education can match the student data with the students who are receiving SNAP to make sure that those students receive free school meals. And we just received data yesterday about how many students could be potentially eligible for each county and city, or for each school division. And the numbers are higher than what we thought they would be. So that's some things that we will be publishing in the future. I just have a lot to chew on in terms of that data. So that's another step in the right direction. Now, what it comes, what the problem is letting people know that SNAP is changing, the rules are changing, that they might be eligible. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to get this in front of them? Well, we've partnered with an ad agency because I know that I am entirely limited to my social media abilities and advertising abilities. So we had gotten the grant funding from several organizations to do the ad campaign for this. And what they're going to do is they'll be advertising starting July 1 about SNAP expansion and that people might be eligible throughout social media, throughout Google and YouTube, and also at metro stops and potentially other TV outlets and radio as well. So a lot going on, and we are very excited to be working with them to make sure people really get not only are aware, but are also receiving the help to apply for SNAP. We are also working on a hotline internally at VPLC to join all the other amazing hotlines at VPLC to help people apply for SNAP and answer the questions about SNAP as well. Because with 25,000 newly eligible households, there's a lot more households who are also going to be calling who may not be eligible, but just want to see. So we want to make sure that we are able to help all of those people so that the state as well is not overwhelmed. Now, one of the ways that we are planning to help is with a calculator that we created. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for this. This calculator was created with the help of a government organization called 18F. That's 18F. And 18F is like the best kept secret in the federal government. They are essentially a bunch of millennials who are tech savvy and can help streamline government websites. So they had this SNAP calculator that nobody was really taking on. And this was something that I had like a dream. This was like a dream project for me. I was prepared to learn how to code so I could just make this calculator, because the Common Help calculator on the Department of Social Services website is not, it's great because it really does like you input all your information and it'll tell you all the programs you're eligible for, but it's clunky, it's super descriptive, it's not mobile friendly, and it's not asking questions based on the answers you've given. So it's asking you all the questions, even questions you shouldn't have to answer. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to see how we could use the power of technology and the power of computers to simply make it a lot easier and simpler for people to apply or even just be screened for benefits. And I wanted to make something mobile friendly because a lot of our Virginia neighbors don't have access to broadband and they rely on their phones heavily. And I also wanted to make sure people are being asked the questions that they should be asked based on the answers that they've provided so that they don't have to go through a lot more information to provide answers that just aren't necessary. So that's what we were able to do in making this calculator. It's at vplc.org/snap-calculator. And here it is. Of course, we are lawyers, so we have the disclaimers that we're not storing any personal information. The Department of Social Services is the end all be all and who makes the decisions here. But here, I just want to give you a quick glance at what this looks like. That's it. It's just this really minimal website, no graphics to download and use up your data. So let's get right into it. So household size. What you'll also see is there's just a few questions that are required. So really, you could just do the bare bones and see if you're eligible. So typically it's a 3-person household that is receiving SNAP benefits. This question is important, and I'll tell you why. Does your household include someone who is 60 or older or somebody who is disabled? If I say yes, then a question pops up down here, monthly out-of-pocket medical expenses for household members who are age 60 or older or disabled. So this is the medical expense deduction. The medical expense deduction is the most underutilized deduction in the SNAP program. Now, I'm not talking about like 5% by 5%, by 10%. I'm talking overwhelmingly. So many people could be using the medical expense deduction, but are just completely discounting it. Or maybe they just don't know about it. Maybe they're not aware of it. Maybe they don't know which of their medical expenses can truly count as deductions, which is why on our website, Virginia Hunger Solutions, we have a fact sheet on what counts as medical expenses. So that question pops up only if you click yes to this. If you click no, it's not there. So let's go ahead and click yes. And then here's a question: is everybody on the application a U.S. citizen? And let's say if we said no, then this pops up that, hey, contact me for more information. Let's talk about it. But let's go with yes. That pop-up does not come up. So then we'll talk about the monthly household pre-tax income. And if you remember, this is asking about gross income. So this is the gross income question. Let's say I'm making $1,500 a month. Monthly household income from other sources. This includes, all these different options. So let's say the 200. This is the resource test question right here. So come July 1st, when this calculator is updated on July 1st, it'll be ready to go. This question will be gone. So let's say we put in $500. Monthly dependent care costs, I don't have anything for that. Monthly out-of-pocket medical expenses. Let's say I'm spending, $250 on healthcare premiums and transport to the doctor's office. I don't have any child support. Monthly rent, I'll say $700. And do I pay utility bills for air conditioner heating? Yes, I do. So let's click submit. Let's see what happens. Literally within a snap of fingers, you can see what your results are. And it says really simply, you may be eligible for SNAP benefits. If you apply and are approved, your benefit may be $378 per month. And then there's a line item that was added for this current pandemic about the emergency allotments, which means that all households are receiving the maximum benefit for their household. And that line item right there is talking about that you could receive an additional $157 per month, but letting them know that this is temporary. So right now, there are a couple ways to apply, and we've enabled those options here, and people can select that. So really simple messaging to just say in simple language, here's what you could be eligible for. Now, in case somebody's wondering, in case somebody's curious, like, well, why did I get this result? And here you see the three tests: gross income test, net income test, asset test. And tech talks to you about how you passed them and why you passed them. Uh, Here we see that the asset test for those with elderly or disabled people in their household have a resource limit of $3,500. Because I only put in $500, I am below that resource test. And then it talks about the benefit amount. It talks about the calculation of what it takes to get to that estimated benefit. And then if you wanted to go even further into the details, you can check out more about gross income and net income. But that's just for people who are really curious, and we wanted to make sure it was very transparent and people could see that. So that, in a nutshell, is a SNAP calculator, and we are spoiler alert, we are working in the background of trying to expand this calculator to screen WIC, perhaps TANF, maybe we can even get into Medicaid. But we really want to show that you can have something that looks simple, something that's very basic looking, but with a very powerful force behind it to help people get the benefits that they need. This calculator is a pre-screener and a benefits calculator. It does not apply, it does not make the application for you. So you still have to click on, the Common Help link or go to a local DSS office. For now, who knows what the future holds for that. And then I spoke earlier about school meals. Some of the recent school meal developments that we've had over the past couple of years, especially thanks to the work of Delegate Danica Rome out of Nova, is we've done a lot of legislation to work against school meal shaming, lunch meal debt, and making sure that schools are using all available options to feed the children and perhaps even feed them for free. So most recently, we passed bills to stop schools from suing families for having unpaid meal debt. In case that sentence doesn't make any sense to your brain, it really doesn't, because there should be no place that sues families for unpaid meal debt in schools. That is something that is now law in Virginia. So that'll start July 1. Because believe it or not, there were schools that were suing families for unpaid meal debt. Some other recent legislation we've had in the world of school meals is that when a child receives a school meal, they go to the line, they get it on the tray, and they're going to check out. And when the cashier sees that that child has no money in their account or has debt, sometimes they would take that tray and throw out the food after it's already been served, and then give that student like a cheese sandwich or some sort of alternative meal. What our recent legislation has done is it's eliminated the alternative meal. So students are no longer being shamed with a shame sandwich, and they're getting the regular meal instead. We've also banned the practice of throwing away the meal after it's already been served. So those are some important developments in school meals, in the school meal world. But yeah, that about wraps it up for what we've done with SNAP. Well, last year we also repealed the ban, which said that if you had a drug felony on your record, you were banned for life from receiving SNAP and another public benefit called TANF for the rest of your life. So you could have served your sentence, paid all your fines, done whatever, but here you had this life sentence attached, a scarlet letter of today, simply for having a drug felony on your record. And we were able to repeal that fully for both SNAP and TANF without applying any conditions of, doing drug tests or anything like that. So that was a super big win. And yeah, and then when in the world of TANF, since I mentioned TANF, TANF is another public benefit. It's an acronym which stands for Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and it does several things. The big thing though is it gives a cash benefit to families, and so what we've been able to do is have some historic increases in TANF because It's been around since about 1996, but it's been around for decades beyond that through other names. It was named TANF through the Clinton Welfare Reform Act of 1996. And since 1996, there was about a handful of increases in the TANF benefit. TANF does not increase automatically every year like SNAP benefits do, or like the federal poverty level adjusts annually. So people, for the longest time, the lowest income Virginians who are receiving TANF benefits weren't receiving an increase in their benefits. So every year, the value was decreasing. So in last year's General Assembly, we were able to get a 15% increase in their cash assistance amounts. This year, we were able to get a 10% increase. So this year was the second highest increase in TANF benefits. Last year was the highest that the state has ever seen. This year, we also added language to that increase to automatically increase the TANF benefits every year by 10% until it reaches 50% of the federal poverty line. Right now, the TANF benefits only get you to about 29 or 30% of the federal poverty line. So we want to make sure that that can really, just accelerate up towards 50% of the FPL, so which should take about 3 or 4 years, unless we ask for more. So let's see, spoiler alert there too. But yeah, that in a nutshell is what's going on with SNAP, with TANF, and with school meals. Again, all of this will be changed on July 1st. So that's going to be a good day for us. And any questions?
Yeah, Salaam, there's actually quite a few in the chat, so I'm going to try and consolidate a few of them. This is just to confirm that the SNAP calculator that's currently on VPLC's site is for the regulations right now, that it's not updated for July 1st changes. And will that be offline when it's updated for July 1st changes?
So come on the stroke of midnight on July 1, it will be automatically changed because we are ready to go with that change.
Perfect. And if somebody asked if a person were to apply at DSS and were denied, can they use the SNAP calculator on our website as proof that they are eligible?
There is potential for that because there could be something that the worker missed. So there is a potential that you could work with, contact me or contact your local legal aid.
Okay. And is it still recommended to apply for the benefits through Common Help? And do you know if Common Help is going to be updated on July 1st?
I can't speak to DSS. I hope it is updated for July 1st. They have gone through some delays with other programs, so we're really making sure that their feet are to the fire in getting everything updated for July 1st. But yes, apply through Common Help. There's also a phone number that should be on the calculator website that you can call to apply.
Sure. Someone asked, and it was also answered in the chat, but I just want to make sure that the person saw the answer, which is if they get SNAP, can they also get WIC? And the answer is yes, but that the WIC income limit is 185% of the poverty line.
Right.
How long do you have to reside in Virginia to qualify as a resident, Salaam?
Oh, I do not know that. Good question, though.
Okay.
If you can leave your email, I'll be happy to get back to you about that.
Sure. And is there a certain credit for SNAP families if you have children who receive SSI to become eligible for SNAP?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure. Is there a certain credit for SNAP families if you have children who receive SSI to become eligible for SNAP?
I don't think the coffee's hitting yet because that question isn't making sense to me. But feel free to shoot me an email and I'd be happy to chat over the phone about that.
Sure. I will also put Salaam's email in the chat for everyone. What if you're staying with somebody until you get your own residence?
So that could qualify as a homeless exception. A homeless doesn't mean that you're living on the streets. Homeless means that you don't have a reliable place to stay. And so if you're couch surfing at a friend's place or family, you could be your own household for SNAP purposes, which means you can have your own application for SNAP.
And the last one, at least that I see in the chat for SNAP benefits, and then there's a question for the school lunches, is can you talk just a little bit about the non-citizen part of SNAP?
Sure. So there is a residency requirement when it comes to immigrants. You have to be here, generally speaking, 5 years before you can be eligible for SNAP. However, there is no residency or like time of residency requirement for school meals. So immigrant children can receive school meals from the first day they're starting school. But also, if you are an immigrant with with children who are U.S. citizens, they can receive SNAP.
Right. And from a food lunch perspective, and you may have answered this, or maybe the meals, are they being repurposed, reserved? Seems like the person didn't want to see food going to waste.
When it's taken away from a child,
Yes.
no, it gets thrown out.
Yeah, which makes that just very shameful, actually, to the child as well. So what happens if the child on the SNAP application is a citizen, but the parent is not?
Yep. So if the child is a citizen, then they can receive SNAP without time delay or anything like that.
And does the parent apply in their name or in the child's name?
In the child's name.
Okay. And what about PEBT?
Great. So PEBT stands for pandemic EBT. And this is something that started during the pandemic of last year, or still going on. But what this does is that this is a benefit that helps families whose children were receiving free and reduced meals during the school year to help give them money to, offset the cost of paying for school meals now that those kids are studying from home. So it's a certain dollar amount every month that the family receives, and that can help pay towards buying lunches and breakfasts for the children. There was a gap in the time of when people were receiving the PEBT amounts. It recently just resumed, just in the last week or so. So there was, I think it stopped coming out in October. So people have already received their October and November benefits. They should have received their December and January, and they've also received their February benefits by now. So I think it's the 27th of every month, or maybe the 26th. You will be receiving new PEBT benefits up until I think June or July, and then there's different amounts whether you're fully remote or if you're in a hybrid school model. And even if you are not considered, even if you are not living in poverty or low income, if your child is in a school that is community eligibility, which means that every child is eligible for free meals, all those children in those schools are receiving PEBT benefits. So if you see a card and you're like, well, I'm not even on SNAP, or my child doesn't even get get the free meals at school, that's why you're going to be seeing it. If you are already participating in SNAP, then you're going to see the PEBT benefits loaded onto your SNAP card.
Yeah, the question from this person, and so Salaam's email is in the chat, is that she has 5 children enrolled and still has not seen any approval. So my assumption is she could follow up with you.
Yeah, there is a phone number and a PEBT issues a website that DSS is, from what I've heard, pretty much on top of, that I can happy to share that info with you.
Sure. Let's see, but they're coming in fast and furious. So let me scroll back up so I'm making sure I don't miss anything.
I hope not furious at me.
No. What if the immigrant individual applying for SNAP is a victim of domestic sexual violence, or human trafficking. Is there an
Hmm.
exception for those individuals?
I believe so. Shoot me an email and I'll be able to confirm.
Sure. And I love all the individuals answering other people's questions, which one of them being that they believe that there's a 5-year residency requirement in Virginia.
Outside of immigrants,
Outside, well, I don't know. She didn't clarify that way.
there's a 5-year for immigrants. I don't think it's that long for anybody
Okay.
else.
Is there a time frame that someone who has a drug felony can apply after being released from prison?
Nope, you can go immediately.
Okay. And I feel like I may have answered or at least asked all the questions. Wait, I do think there was one from John. Will there need to be budget amendments each year to achieve the 50% goal, or will it be automatic?
John, my good friend from Stall, no, there will not need to be any more budget amendments. Those will be automatic.
Gotcha. All right. And we're always mindful that we say that these coffee and chats are a half an hour, and we are past our 9:30 mark. So I don't want to keep anyone if this is what you had on your calendar for this morning. But at the same time, if there are other questions, I know Salaam is more than happy to stick around and answer additional questions. And I hope that I was able to find and ask everyone's questions. If not, please let me know. But otherwise, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who registered and came in this morning, and also kind of let you know that on April 20th, and I saw Joni Latimer on here earlier, who's an ombudsman in Virginia for nursing homes. Emily Hardy, Virginia Poverty Law Center's elder law attorney. She, along with Joni, will be hosting a coffee chat April 20th on issues within the nursing homes. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lobbyist, but I do know that the General Assembly this year did not address any of the issues that nursing homes experienced, whether it comes from ensuring that all of them are staffed properly and other pieces that make nursing homes just not a good place at the moment. And so this upcoming session, I know they're going to be working on passing legislations to make our nursing homes a safer and healthier place for our elderly citizens. And so that's April 20th. So pay attention to your emails for that invitation. And unless you'd like to stay and ask a few more questions, I do wish each of you a wonderful day. Salaam, there is a question that when applying for benefits, do you put 0? My assumption is that means for income, Helen? I'm sorry. Or are you just asking if you don't have any income to report, like if you're not paying childcare?
No. So somebody had asked, how does the income guidelines apply when you're applying for SNAP for a child with non-citizen parent? So if you apply for the child and the child has no income, do you just put 0 or do you still put the household income?
Great question, Helen. You would still put the household income.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Can I get a question?
Hey, John.
Question.
Hey, Salaam, if the increase, the 10% increases are automatic and we don't need a budget amendment, could we agree to work on maybe closing the 2-year gap or the deduction, increasing the deduction for the next session? Would those be challenges or things we could work on together?
And yes, so John has been so helpful over the past few years of helping to advocate in increasing the TANF benefit as well as doing some other great TANF things. John, I just have written about like 7 things on my whiteboard of TANF things. So I have a long chat to have with you, but we will be racing forward with all of them.
Well, let's set up a Zoom call fairly soon.
You got it, sir.
Okay, great. I also had a Richmond wrap up with 6 legislators about a week ago, and I have some good information that came out of that to share with you that I'm sure will be very helpful strategy-wise. So
Thanks,
we
John.
got a lot to talk about. Thank you for your good work. You're amazing.
Let me mute that person. And there's a couple more questions, Salaam. Do you know off the top of your head what the income limits are for a household of 7?
Let me pull that up real quick. So poverty limit for a family of 7 is $40,120.
Okay. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, I'm gonna just put that in the chat here.
Sure, thanks. And as a volunteer working with the immigrant community, can immigrant parents with U.S. citizen children apply for SNAP now or after July 1st?
You can do that now.
And will the new social media campaign that you mentioned earlier in your talk, with the July 1st changes, are those going to be publicly available to share?
Yes, and in fact, in June, we're going to be doing a webinar or a presentation about all the things to expect for the ads campaign so that we're all on the same page. All the anti-hunger advocates, everybody who wants to be in the know is going to be invited to attend this so you can see the branding, see what it looks like and see how it's going to be helpful. And we'll be able to share all the media, all the graphics and stuff too.
So I'm sure that if somebody wished to be part of that webinar, they could contact you to get on the list.
Sure thing.
Okay. And it doesn't seem like we have any other questions. So thank you once again, and everyone have a fantastic day.